Okay, I'm going to be discussing a little bit cloning and at least one aspect of ideas that we could see in Torah. There is much more, obviously, that could be said in this lecture, but just at least open an angle. So I'm talking, Baruch Hashem, to a group of well-educated young men. If I were to ask you, what is unique about cloning? I mean, humans have been in the, let's call it, reproductive medicine for 2 millennia now. People who have had issues conceiving and having children, we have found different ways. There's IVF, now there's the surrogacy that is quite become more and more accepted. There are different ideas. There are different ideas that are out there. I'm not talking about the moral issues involved and the halachic issues involved. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. But what I'm asking is, if I were to ask you what's unique about cloning, why is cloning different than anything else? What's the answer, Dr. Dayan? I'm talking much of the doctors here, so I may be a little bit out of my depth here. What's unique about cloning?
What aspect?
What?
In what aspect do you mean?
You tell me whatever you find. In what way is it different than any other reproductive medicine that we do?
Because you're kind of making something, not from scratch, but like, as opposed to having like an egg and like a zygote, you're kind of creating a form.
That's right. That's right. Every time we talk about reproduction, you're talking about a cell that is eventually formed, or a zygote that is formed, that came from a father and a mother. An egg contains within it proteins, other things that allow the, let's say, the zygote to grow and starts the whole process, but it does not have a full DNA format for a living thing. It only has part of the DNA. The other part comes from the sperm. So once an egg is fertilized, that means once the sperm is there together with the egg, it could start a living being. You have two components that allow that new life form to develop and eventually become a new living thing. But those two components have to complement each other. You don't have a full set. An egg does not carry enough material for a new life. Neither does a sperm. Sperm carries part of it, the DNA. The egg carries the other part of DNA. Together, they complement the chromosomes. Now, as I mentioned, the egg also carries the proteins that allows the completed, if you will, chromosomes to start develop, start splitting, and eventually form a life form. Now, with cloning, you bypass that process. The way cloning works is they take out the DNA from the egg, so the egg is only left with the proteins. The DNA is taken out. Now you take a cell from a living being. When they did Dolly the sheep, they took a cell from another sheep. It's not what came from a mother and a father. It's one cell from another being, and they put inside that egg. And that cell, if it's successful, it starts to split and starts to grow. It starts forming another living being. So therefore, it does not come from two sides. The cell comes only from one, right? One contributing, whoever contributed or whatever contributed that cell. If they took the cell from a female, the new baby or whatever you're going to call it is going to be a female. If they took it from male, it's going to be a male. Thus the name cloning. It's an actual clone. It's an actual copy of the person before. You never have copies in natural order of things unless you have identical twins. Identical twins is the same cell that's split into two. So they're genetically, the DNA part of it, they're basically a copy of each other. So cloning is also a copy of the one who contributed. It would be an interesting question. You know, this biologically speaking, this baby, child, or whatever animal does not have parents. Does have one who contributed. Is that a parent? Is that not a parent? What does it even mean to be a parent? To be a parent, they got to produce a new thing. They didn't produce something new here. It's a copy, replica of the old thing that was. He had a question. Just 1 second. Yes.
No, you answered my question. Thank you.
Yes.
So basically, they take a DNA from a living animal or human being
And
and
they
put
insert.
that in the egg.
That's right. First, you have to make the egg blank. That means you withdraw. You take out the existing DNA in the egg, and you're left just with the proteins that allow the growth of the cell. See, again, I'll say it one more time. The way it works naturally, an egg has, let's call it half, whatever, part of DNA for a whole living being. Besides that, DNA has the protein that allows a full DNA to grow. Once the sperm fertilizes the egg, now you have a full set of DNA. You could start working. Okay, so the egg comes already with part of half of whatever DNA, and then the sperm complements it. But in order to do cloning, they withdraw the existing half. So whatever the applications may be a lot. There's even this talk of bringing the woolly mammoth back. Right, the woolly mammoth that lived in California also, but lived many years ago, right? So they're in theory, there are tissues that were found in frozen lakes, etc. You could take a cell from there, insert that DNA into an egg of an elephant, right? Take the elephant egg, take out the DNA, the elephant DNA, put that thing, and then put it back inside the elephant. Now this elephant will be carrying a woolly mammoth.
The DNA of the...
And if it works, the baby, the calf that will be born, DNA-wise is fully mammoth and not elephant at all.
How is that possible though? You're saying that there's half of it that is going inside the egg.
They say they
There's the
withdraw
other
that.
half is missing.
When they do cloning, they withdraw the half that the egg already
So
carries.
just the food is inside, basically.
That's right. So I repeat again, that is what's unique about cloning. Cloning does not come from two parents. Only one person contributed the DNA. That's why it's called cloning. You're cloning one person or one animal, one being.
But from the person that you're cloning it from, isn't that coming also another half?
No. It comes full. The one you're cloning from contributes the full set of DNA. That's what I just said. Dolly the sheep, they took out whatever egg they used. They took out the DNA that was already in the egg. Okay, let me explain something. Okay, I think I know what's confusing you. Every cell, every human cell we have carries our full set of DNA. Right? They could take your full set of DNA from your hair, or from your saliva, from your skin, from anywhere, correct?
Right.
Or mine. Except the egg and the sperm. Egg and the sperm do not carry the full set. They only carry partially, one chromosome. Okay? Sperm carries partially, and egg carries the other part. Together, in a natural order thing, when the sperm fertilizes egg, now it has a full set. But a new full set. It's not copy of anybody. It's a new set. You have two halves that got together. Okay? That's the natural way. But the cloning way is they take what the egg, the half that egg carries already with it, they take out. So now this egg is now blank, has no DNA in it. It's only left with the protein, which is the environment for it to grow. So now you could insert any other full cell. They don't take from sperm or egg. They take a regular cell. Clear now?
From somebody who was born before.
Could be
Correct?
anybody. Could be anybody. I mean, they're even contemplating from people that were already dead.
Yes, but
If they have a living cell, it could be done. It could be done. Okay. So to try to understand it, there is one question that we have to understand this question, how to answer it. Hopefully at the end of the lecture we will have the answer. The first page of the handout over there in front of you is, right, the first page I quoted a few pesukim. The first paragraph is 2 pesukim from the very beginning of Sefer Bereshit. Right? Hashem creates man betzalmo, in his image, betzelem Elokim barato. Man is created in the image of God. Zachar nekeva baratam, and added to that is that they are male and female. Vayivarech el otam Elokim. Hashem blesses them. Vayomer lahem Elokim perur. He says, you shall multiply and you shall be fruitful. Umilu etaretz. You shall fill the land. So that's the very beginning of Bereshit. Hashem creates man and blesses them to procreate. We are given a blessing which Hashem blesses every other being. That means when God created different species, from the ants to the animals to the humans, Hashem gave us, created within every species, an ability to procreate. That's the blessing. The blessing means He created within us that ability. This is the very beginning of Bereshit. Okay, the story of Bereshit continues. Obviously over here it's on the same page, but pay attention to the fact that the next few pesukim that I quoted are from chapter 5. The first one was from chapter 1. There are 4 chapters later. Zeh Sefer Toldot Adam. Torah starts talking about Toldot Adam, man's offspring. Number 1, Torah repeats, when God created man, he was created in Hashem's image. Why is it necessary to repeat this piece of information? That's question number 1. I'm going to ask you a few questions. By the end of the lecture, we should have the answer to all those questions. So why is it repeated? Question number 2, Zachar nekeva b'ram, verse 2, chapter 5. They were created, male and female. Again, why the necessity to repeat it? Why repeat that they are man and woman, they were male and female? It's already mentioned. Vayivarech otam, He blessed them. Like et shemam adam b'yom hibarem, and He called them together. The both of them together were called mankind when they were created. So question number 3, why repeat the fact that they were blessed? And then the pasuk continues, the man was 130 years old when he gave birth to Shet, etc., etc. So those 3 questions, basically the first 2 verses of chapter 5, it seems all repetition, does not give us any new information, so why is it there? What is it doing? Torah wants to recount the offspring of man. Me and you would have started from verse Gimel, no? Verse 3. He was 130 years old, he had a child named Shet, etc., etc. Why all the repetition? Okay. So next page. Next page, I have over here I printed the whole story of creation. Torah recounts creation. Very, very interestingly, I'll just say this quickly. Ramban writes in one of his Derashot, he says, if not for Torah, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's mamash divrei neviut. We live 900 years after Ramban, so we could appreciate what he wrote. He says, if not for Torah, it would take us few hundred years, trial and error, to know the order of development of this world. What came before what? Torah tells it to us. You could read it in 5 minutes. Torah gives us the secret, the key to the kingdom, as it were. It says, if not for Torah telling us, it would take us few hundred years of building knowledge, trial and error, experimenting, all different to know the answers. So we have the benefit of those few hundred years. Right? When the Renaissance started, what we call the Renaissance, when the Western world started being interested in science and technology, etc., let's say starting with Newton, so slowly we added to our knowledge, scientific world. We Jews knew a lot of it to begin with. It's in Zohar, but they started slowly, added one layer on top of another layer, Now, some 500 years later, we know the world came about. This planet was a molten liquid form. Eventually, the outer area crusted, what we call dry land. Eventually, you had oceans. Then you had plant life. Then we know life, as we call it, started in the sea. Fish, followed by birds, followed by animals, followed by humans. It took us 500, it took the scientific world 500 years to figure that out. You read Torah, it's the first chapter of Torah. Hashem creates the world. The whole world is liquid. The whole planet Earth is liquid. Hashem says, let the outer be crust. And then there's the next day there is waters. The next day there is plant life. Following there is fish. Followed by bird. Followed by animals. Eventually mankind. And it's unbelievable. Ramban writes this. He says, if not for the fact that Torah had told us, at that time, remember, the scientific world, whatever it was fighting Torah. But Ramban said, if scientific world be able to spend 500 years on this, they'll be able to come to the truth of it. And we did. But okay, be that as it may, Torah gives us the order of the development, the evolvement, if you will, of the world. As I said, first is a molten ball, and on and on and on. Now we have different words that is used in this chapter. I've highlighted them. There is the word bara, there is the word yatzar, and there is the word asa. There are three words when Hashem says Hashem created, made, formed, and what is it? Are they just randomly, or do they mean anything? If you go to the next page, I've quoted a number of pieces from Ramban. The part that is highlighted says, says to understand the verses very simply without giving you too much depth, but the clear to know what it is. He says, when Hashem started creation, it was from absolute nothingness. There is a scientific term for it. It's called ex nihilo. That means prior to it, nothing existed. Even when I tell the term, to bring something out of thin air, even that is not such a good term, because air itself is matter. It's got molecules. It was absolute nothingness, ex nihilo. So Hashem created the world. Before that, there was nothing. Right? Now, the correct term for such a creation, ex nihilo, in Hebrew is bara. The term is bara. Now, listen to these words of Ramban. Ramban says, there is nothing that you see, nothing in this world, mountains, sea, trees, animals, there is nothing that was created in that form, ex nihilo. What we saw, Hashem didn't create it from nothing. He did not. Rather, Hashem first created something scientifically. Now, I have an article, if you want, I could bring it to you in National Geographic. They want to call it God particle. He created a matter, I don't even know if you could call him matter at that time, because he was not stable. It's quasi-matter. But he created an entity first from absolute nothingness. That's bara. Absolute nothingness. Now, it doesn't have its own form, but it has the ability to turn into other things. After that, Hashem did not create anything. But He formed different things. He made different things. Now the last few lines in that highlighted part. So he says you should know that all spiritual matter started from one beginning, and all physical matter started from another beginning, different beginning. So, different one. Now, so just to explain this, Rembrandt, if I could use something. There are three terms that are used in Bereshit. There is asa, make. There is yatzar, form. Then there is bara, create. See, asa is easy. When you make something, I go to Home Depot, I buy some lumber, I buy some wood, I come home, make a bookshelf. I cut it, I nail it, I screw it, I glue it, I sand it. So I made something. Now, it used to be pieces of wood, now it's a bookshelf. It's different. But I did not change the essence of the matter. The molecular buildup is the same thing. It was wood, it's still wood. You put it under the microscope, it's the same molecules, it's the same atoms, nothing changed. That's called making something. Sometimes you could be more fundamental, you could form something. Yatzar, the term yatzar in Torah is when you form something, when you take different raw material and you come up with something new. A very obvious case of that, if you probably, some of you have done it in the lab, if you take hydrogen and oxygen, you put them together and you make water. Both of them are gas. Now they're a liquid. It's a totally different essence. Why? Because it's different than making a bookshelf. You touch the molecular buildup. The molecules used to have only one atom in it. Now it has three different atoms in it. Two of hydrogen and one of oxygen. So you didn't create anything new. You use your raw material to bring new, but that's yatzar. You form something. Baking, in a way, is yatzar. When you mix water, there are chemical reactions that happen that change the buildup of the molecules. That's yatzar. Then there is bara. Bara is when Hashem created something out of absolute nothing. Nothing started it, as I explained.
The first 6 days.
So, says Ramban, that only happened the very, very first second of creation. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz. Hashem created shamayim. The word shamayim, by the way, does not mean sky, means heavens. Right? We use it as borrowed term for what we call heavens. But heaven means the spiritual realm. At that moment, and Vares, and Ares also means the physical world. At that moment, says Ramban, Hashem created everything. That tiny, tiny speck of creation that He did, it contains within all matter, and the other speck, but we call it the spiritual first matter, that contains within all the spiritual beings, the angels and the forces, everything. From now on, it's what? It's all developed and formed and made. Nothing more was created, says Ramban. That's why you don't have the word bara many times. I'm going to tell you that there is bara is mentioned 2 other times in account of Bereshit. Other than that, there isn't. There is only forming. So if you could just imagine, you have the table of elements. Right? We know now that in the world there are only 117 elements. Nothing more. All the millions of different variations of matter is different mixes of those 117. So if you go down, if you go even down, lower, eventually comes to one thing. Hashem created one thing that could be formed and shaped into different molecules, the God particle. That was creation. After that, there is no more creation. That Hashem created with the ability to turn into other things. Just like Hashem created with the ability for hydrogen and oxygen to form water, that original tiny speck of creation contained everything within it. Contained everything within it. I give you a very, very quick example and we move on. I've said this before. One of the cutting edge, really, areas of medicine now is stem cell research and stem cell therapy, and the theory, in theory, it's an unbelievable thing. Right? You guys all know how stem cells work? See, we talked about it. We talked about a baby developing. A baby develops inside the mother. It's one cell. It starts as one cell. The cell breaks into two, and then breaks into again into four, and then into eight, and eventually it forms into a human being, right? Now, that one cell, has within it the potential to be everything. It could be a heart, it could be an eye, it could be muscle, it could be bone, it could be teeth, it could be everything. Right? It's unbelievable. Now, when they split into 2, 4, 8, the 8 are absolutely identical. Up to when there are 8, there is no changes whatsoever that could be seen. Now, of these 8, one of them will end up being the liver, one of them will end up being nails or hair, but they're identical. They have the ability to continue evolve into that direction, but right now they're all the same spot. Once they break it to 16, you could start to see slight changes. So what it is these cells are like unbelievable. They're so potent. They could be anything. They just have to be in the right environment to turn into liver, or to turn into hair, or to turn into eye. So we have to find the research, the research community is trying to find ways to make him work. In theory, we could take stem cells and somebody who lost a leg in war or something, grow him another leg. Because these stem cells could turn into anything. Or their eye burned off, we could grow them another eye. We are not able to do that yet, but we have the raw material. They do it every day, these stem cells. Now, stem cells, as I told you, they use them even up to 32. When they're 16 and 32, there are slight changes, but still the change is so small that they could be worked. But up to 8, they don't change at all. It was 1, split into 2, split into 4, split into 8. And eventually these 8 split into billions of cells. And they will be different at the end product. One of them is hair, as I said, one of them is liver. But they could become any of that. So that's how it was. With that first moment of creation, that is only creation, says Raman. There is no more creation after that. They form, they develop, they evolve, but they are not created no more. Hashem did the creation. Creation was the first second. Creation was the first second, except 2 other instances of the word bara that are mentioned. We will see them. Right? Now, let's go to the other Ramban, the one next to the highlighted part. So it says, when Hashem created man, it says Hashem na'aseh Adam. Hashem says, let us make man. Now the first question is, why is mankind mentioned separately? When Hashem created fish, didn't say, let me create the catfish and the tuna. All fish is... so when Hashem is creating mammals, so let us create mammals. Why is mankind different? Why would you say, Maurice?
What's the question?
Why does Torah have a different ma'amar? There are 10 ma'amarot, there are 10 ma'amarot that the world was created. Why does mankind need to be on a class all by itself? Why can't it be created the same as with all the other mammals?
Because it's different.
In what way is it different?
Because it's the purpose of creation. Everything else is the tools.
All right. So you want to give an answer? Yes.
That's the maximum of the complete.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
but both of you are giving answers that are in the hashkafic part of it. That why mankind is more important, more significant. But the question is not that. The question is in the Asara Ma'amarot, in the fact that the world had 10 stages of creation. The creation of man, why is it any different than the creation of any other mammal? Okay, man is great, man is wonderful. And chimpanzee is way, way smarter, right, than a cat. And a cat is smarter than, I don't know. They're all different levels, there are different significance. And dolphins are much, much smarter than certain other animals. So okay, man is smarter, but you're not answering what is fundamentally different. See, if it's a question of different levels, relative difference, that doesn't answer the question.
Is create. Man is create.
Okay, so it says Ramban, like you said, Kientiv o kiteva chayav avema asher bara b'ma'amar hakodem lo. By the way, this handout, if you would like to spend time on it later, it's unbelievable. Every word of these Rambans. Obviously, I'm doing it very quick here for the because of the time allotment that we have. So he says, because the very creation of mankind is different. It's not that we are more significant and we are smarter, which we are, but that doesn't justify a whole different type of creation. It says, the reason Hashem says, let us create man. What does it mean, let us create man? Who created man? So what is let us? So the answer is that Hashem did not create man alone. Now, please be very careful what I'm saying. I don't want to say kefirah here. Listen to what Ramban says. I explained to you already, which we read it. Hashem created only first day. Remember? After that, nothing more was created. Everything was formed and developed and built. So now, just like Hashem gave, it's not like someone else did. Of course, Hashem did it, but Hashem created that first material with the ability to develop and form, and eventually even bring about what? Life forms. He says, you see, it says, let the seas give forth life being. So that means this that sometimes spontaneously it happened in water, life form it happened, a single cell. It's true, it did happen. But who created water that to be able to? Hashem did it. Right? That's what it says. Hashem says, let the water give forth living fish, etc., etc. Because it's Hashem created it within that system and the nature to be like that. Now, the same by animals. Animals were created. You didn't need a direct creation from Hashem, from God. God created the raw materials that could and did evolve into living beings. It wasn't a direct creation, it was indirect. Hashem created the original system. That first day, that first second, that first speck was the creation. Let me finish this thought. Okay? But now when it comes to mankind, it cannot be all within the system that he already created. So now it says, let us. What does us mean? Right? Let me, Hashem, together with that system that I already created, create mankind. The physical world will create man's body, but that will not create mankind. Mankind will have an added thing from me. I will create the neshama for human being. That's why the word bara is used again by humans. That's the unbelievable thing here. You have another creation which you don't have by any other living being. There is no system that could create what we call human soul. There is a system. Hashem created a world. This world, Hashem created in a lot of ways self-sustaining. Right? Yeah. Animals procreate. Trees, they have seeds. They work on the earth. It doesn't mean God doesn't do it. God does it. Everything God does it. But He created the system. He doesn't need to be involved every time. The system He created and it works. When it comes to mankind, there is no system that could create souls. Our body, yeah, there is a system that creates.
Every time there is a new soul?
Every time there is a soul, there is a creation. That's why, says Ramban, it's clear in Torah. There is no bara after the first bara. There is no more bara throughout the creation till it comes to mankind. That's why mankind could not be the same part of creation as all other mammals, because it's created in that way different. Yeah, our physical side could have, but because God wants to create us with the spiritual side is directly from Him. Now, this is unbelievable. Listen to this last paragraph. It says mankind is in our image, because man's image is both. In his physical side, it reflects the physical world, which created it. Physical world, the natural order of things brought about man. Right? But the spirit is of above thing. Quickly, the bottom paragraph. Listen to this. This pasuk, the fact that it says God Himself, which is what Mr. Achter just said. It says God Himself blew into him a living soul. A living soul. Right? Over here, this use the word Hashem Elokim, both of them. Because man's soul is not the same as the life force of other beings. You see a cow, it's alive. So we are alive also. Is it the same? It's not the same. Because the cow, even his life force, the fact that he's alive, comes from what? Comes from that original creation that God created.
System.
Now, this line is very important. Remember, we said God created the first day two creations. One physical, one spiritual. You would think the Neshama comes from the spiritual. No, it doesn't even come from the spiritual. It's God Himself. It's Hashem Himself every time giving a soul.
Even today.
Yes. That's what Raman writes. A soul cannot be created even by the spiritual mechanism. That's what's unique about a soul. Okay? Yes.
All right, so according to what you're saying, then Hashem made the materials, so then the Big Bang Theory maybe is correct.
None maybe, it's absolutely correct.
So
I don't want to get into that, but you guys have heard of Aristotle and Plato? Now, you know Aristotle and Plato had a disagreement all their life. Plato was Aristotle's teacher.
Right. Okay?
Now, Plato believed in what is written in Hebrew books as Olam Mechudash. They would translate it nowadays as creationism, but whatever. It's he believed basically in Big Bang. He believed that the world came into being. Now Aristotle disagreed with him very strongly, and Aristotle said no, the world was always the same way. It's impossible. He proved in his own, mistaken way that world could not have changed. You could not have had a world that didn't exist and then it did exist. Okay? So Aristotle disagreed with Plato. Now, for 1500 years, the world laughed at Plato. They said Plato as an idiot because everybody accepted Aristotle's opinion except Jews. Now, not that Plato is also a kofar because Plato didn't believe in God. But the idea that he believed, writes the Kuzari, you guys heard the name of the Sefer Kuzari, says what he believed is exactly like Torah. The only thing is he didn't believe in God. What he wrote Plato for that time, again, he was ridiculed for a millennia and a half. For 1500 years they made fun of him. He talked about Big Bang. He said the world came into being, it burst, as we said, it exploded into being, the world. So everybody laughed at him. Till, as I said, the Renaissance brought about the ideas of knowledge and all that, so eventually he was proven right. But throughout all these years, Jews were the only one who said, no, Plato is right. Because Torah Zohar says like this. Now, the only difference is, you ask them, what caused Big Bang? Okay, Big Bang, exploded into being. What caused it? What brought it about? Well, what? They will not give you a good answer. Some of them will tell you, Big Bang caused Big Bang. It caused itself, sort of. Okay. So we say, you read Ramban says absolutely like that. But it was Hashem who brought it about, that you're 100% right. Everything that they do honestly, on a scientific, not because they have bias, not because they have a bent to prove anything, but those things that are trial and error based on facts, they're all true and they work with Torah. The only thing is, they do not want to admit there is a higher force behind it. Well, a lot of them do, by the way. But okay, be that as it may. Okay, now we are ready, perhaps, to answer, right? We are ready to answer the first three questions that we asked. The first three questions, we said, Torah told us already that man was created. Torah told us that he was male and female. Torah told us that there were breasts. Why does he repeat again? Chapter 5, when he talks about man's offspring, right? Listen to this, and this is very important. Now, this next page, it says on top of it the answer. You have it? Okay. Says Ramban, now here's the answer to the questions, right? בטעם ביום ברא אלוקים נמשך לפני כי יתחיל באדם מעשה יזכיר בו שנברא מאין. What Torah is repeating is reminding us that mankind was also created ex nihilo. Man was also created directly by God from absolute nothingness, and there was no prior force and nature that created. Which part of man was that?
Original.
The neshama. Right? Man's body was not created directly by Hashem. The neshama was created directly by Hashem. So this day says God created man. Which part was God created? Our spirit, our neshama.
Bara.
The bara goes on our neshama. Right? So it says, יפרשו מעשה אלוקים ממנו כי יהיו הזכר כי ברא אותו מאין ואמר ויברך אותם שנתן בהם כוח תולדה. That Hashem gave us the ability to procreate. לעד בבנים ובנות רבים, many children.
Just like animals.
והכוונה לומר, listen to this, not just like animals. והכוונה לומר, the intention is כי התולדות מברכת אלוהים. Because for mankind to have children, you need also God's involvement. Because Adam and Eve themselves were not part of the natural order of the things. You needed Hashem to come and get involved and give him a soul. So listen to this. Okay, let me just say this also, and then we'll understand it better. Look at the Gemara in Masachet Kiddushin. You all have heard of that. There are three partners in mankind. When a child is born, there are three partners: father, mother, and the God and the Creator. Okay, why? Because the Gemara says the father and mother create the physical body, and Hashem gives the neshama. I have a question for you. Are there three partners when a cow is born?
Yeah.
No neshama.
Never.
No.
Why not?
Holy comedy.
Right? Now, again, do not get me wrong. Let me explain this. Do not get me wrong. Of course, it's all with Hashem's will and Hashem's wanting. But when Hashem created the cow, created within it the ability to procreate. So when a baby calf is born now, you don't have God's direct involvement. You have what Hashem created, that it's His will, His want, that it should happen.
System.
That's His system. When it comes to mankind, there is no system to create a new neshama. The father and the mother could only create the system for the body. So you need God to come again and give a neshama. So that's what the second bracha means. Why does it say again Hashem blessed them? Because it's a different bracha, says Ramban. The first time is the idea to be able to procreate a body. But the second bracha, you'll excuse me, but it means Hashem basically was meshabed himself. Hashem bound himself to our will. You need Hashem's participation for a child to be born. And Hashem could have said, you know what? You guys have children. Those whom I'm interested, I will give them neshama. Those who I'm not interested, they won't have neshama. They'll be, you'll excuse me, glorified chimpanzees. They won't have neshama.